The planet was dead. Ash covered everything. The sky was black, filled with thick smoke. Mountains of metal lay broken across the battlefield, old ships, weapons, and bodies forgotten by both sides. A soft wind moved the dust, but there was no life here. Only silence. Except for one thing. Buried under the wreckage of a fallen alien ship. A small signal light blinked, faint, slow, almost lost in the shadows. A weak voice played again and again, repeating the same message. Help, please. No one was left to hear it. No one, except him. High above, in orbit around the dead world, a human scout ship drifted near the edge of the atmosphere. Inside, Captain Elias Kane watched his screen closely. He had just finished a recon mission. The area was marked clear. No survivors, no movement. He was supposed to return to command, but the signal was real. Weak, yes, but real. He narrowed his eyes. This system was bombed 3 days ago. No one's supposed to be alive down there. He pressed the comms button. Command, this is Kane. Picking up a distress call from Sector D9. Unidentified source. Request permission to investigate. The reply came fast and cold. Negative. Area is classified as dead zone. No action needed. Return immediately. Elias stared at the screen. The signal blinked again. Help, please. He tapped his fingers on the console, thinking, officially. He had no reason to land, but he wasn't the kind of man who ignored a voice in the dust. I'll take a closer look, he said to himself. The scout ship broke through the clouds, heading for the signal. As it descended, flames danced across the wings from re-entry. The dust below twisted like smoke around an invisible fire. Elias landed near the wreckage. The wind pushed against the ship, and small bits of ash slid across the windshield. He stepped out, wearing light armor and a breathing mask. His boots crunched on broken glass and metal as he moved forward. The air smelled like fire and death. His scanner blinked. Life sign detected. He followed it.
Ow.
Walking past a shattered alien vehicle, a giant claw had torn through its side. Blood, green and dry, was splattered across the hull. Still, the signal continued. Help, please. Elias found the source under a pile of twisted steel beams and broken wires. Kneeled down, cleared some of the debris, and froze. It was an alien girl. She was small, maybe his age, maybe younger. It was hard to tell. Her skin was smooth and dark violet, glowing softly where it wasn't bruised. Her long white hair was dirty and tangled. One arm was burned, her chest armor cracked. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes were closed, but she was alive. Elias blinked. This was no soldier. It's no enemy with a weapon, just a wounded girl. Left to die, her signal device was almost dead. He reached for it, and she opened her eyes. Startled, she tried to move, her hand twitching toward a broken blade near her leg. She didn't have the strength to grab it. Elias raised both hands to show peace. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. Of course, she didn't understand him. Her translator was broken, but something in his voice made her stop. He pulled off his helmet, so she could see his face. Human. Her eyes widened. Her kind had been told humans were monsters, yet here he was, unarmed, calm, trying to help. He reached forward slowly and cleared more rubble off her body. She didn't resist. You're lucky you're still breathing, he said softly. Let's get you out of here. He placed a field patch on her burned side. The medical foam sealed the wound, and her breathing improved slightly. But she needed real treatment, and soon. Elias looked up at the sky. He had broken orders, he had no backup. He had just become part of something bigger than he expected. Suddenly, Skana beeped again. Movement, not her, not human. Something else was nearby. He looked around quickly and saw shadows moving behind a wall of smoke. Hunter bots. Old machines left behind to clean up survivors. No orders, no mercy. Elias cursed under his breath. Great. He picked the alien girl up carefully. She groaned, but didn't fight. Her head rested weakly against his chest. The hunter bots moved closer. He turned and ran. boots pounding against the metal ground, holding her tight. Blaster shots rang out behind him, sharp and wild. Sparks flew as metal exploded around him. The ship was still far. He didn't know if he could make it, but he knew one thing. He wasn't leaving her behind. Asterisk smoke burned his lungs as Captain Elias Kane ran across the battlefield holding the alien girl in his arms. His boots slammed into loose metal, kicking up clouds of dust. The sky above was a dark orange, thick with fire and ash. Blaster shots echoed behind him. The hunter bots were closing in. The girl in his arms, the alien survivor, was fading fast. Her head rested against his shoulder, her violet skin burning with fever. She had stopped speaking. Her body was shaking. She had no name, no weapon, no fight left. But Elias couldn't let her die. He slid down a collapsed hill of wreckage, sparks flying around him. His ship was nearby, hidden behind a wall of old scrap. If he could reach it, just a few more meters, they might live. The hunter bots were still coming, fast, no warning, no questions. They were programmed to kill anything alive. Elias turned sharply around a rusted engine core and ducked into a narrow gap. He crawled into a collapsed bunker made of bent steel and broken wires. It was dark, tight, and hot. The smell of burnt fuel filled the air. He laid the girl down carefully behind a stack of ruined crates. Her breathing was shallow. He checked her. Wounds, burns across her ribs, gashes on her leg, and glowing bruises along her collarbone. She was strong, but only barely holding on. Elias pulled out a second med foam and pressed it to her side. The liquid hissed and sealed the skin. Her body jerked slightly. She opened her eyes slowly. He spoke softly. "I know you can't understand me, but you're going to be okay. I promise." She blinked at him, confused. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then she looked around at the firelight bouncing on the walls, at the small space they were hiding in, and at him, a human. She didn't flinch. Not anymore. Elias smiled a little. That's better. A sudden clang made him freeze. Metal feet, just outside the bunker. He quickly reached for his rifle and pulled the girl closer behind cover. She didn't resist. A red light swept across the entrance, scanning. The hunterbot's sensor hovered near the doorway. It let out a low, buzzing sound. Elias held his breath. His hand rested gently on the alien girl's arm, steadying her. She looked into his eyes and understood. Silenced the scanner, paused, then moved on. Elias waited another 10 seconds before letting out a slow breath. He closed his eyes briefly, calming himself. "We're not safe," he whispered. "Not yet." Outside. The bots spread out again, moving like shadows in the smoke. They had not detected them, but they would return. Elias turned back to the girl. "We need to move. Can you walk?" She tried. Her leg trembled, then gave out. She collapsed against the wall, wincing in pain. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. "Okay," he said. "Then I carry you." He lifted her once more, gently but quickly, and slipped out the side of the bunker. The fire was spreading. A crashed alien vehicle nearby had exploded, and now the flames were climbing through the wreckage. Heat rose from every direction. Metal popped and snapped. Elias sprinted again, ducking under pipes, leaping over shattered holes. Heart pounding. The ship was close now, just behind a wall of broken antennae. A hunter bot turned the corner ahead, blocking the path. Elias dove to the side, rolling behind cover. The bot fired. Sparks rained down. He checked his rifle for shots left, too far to run. He set the girl down gently behind a large wheel and raised his weapon. He aimed, at steady and calm, then fired once, twice. The first shot missed. The second blew off the bot's head. It twitched and fell. Elias stood and ran again, grabbing the girl as the fire roared behind them. He reached his ship, threw open the door, and jumped inside. As soon as he sealed the hatch, dropped to his knees, breathing hard. The alien girl lay across the seat, her chest rising slowly. The danger was over for now. He removed his gloves, wiped sweat from his face, and looked at her. She was staring back at him. For the first time she spoke just one word. "Why?" Elias froze. She had used his language, broken but clear. He walked closer, crouched beside her. Why what? She looked at him, eyes full of pain, confusion, and something deeper. Why? Save me. He didn't speak for a moment. Then he said softly, because someone should have. Outside, the fire kept burning. Inside the ship, two enemies sat in silence, not enemies anymore. The scout ship shook with the roar of fire outside. Metal groaned beneath the hull, and red warning lights blinked across the control panel. But inside the cockpit, it was quiet. Captain Elias Kane sat beside the wounded alien girl, the one he had saved from certain death. Her breathing was steadier now. Her eyes no longer showed fear, only confusion and questions. She had asked him just one word, why? And his answer still echoed in her mind, because someone should have. Elias stood slowly and moved to the pilot's seat. Smoke filled the sky outside the window. The sensors were failing. Static danced across the radar. And worse, the hunter bots hadn't left. He glanced back at the girl. You need medical care, real care, he said. But we can't take off with that much heat. The engines'll cook us alive. She watched him closely, trying to understand. He opened a side compartment and pulled out a lightweight exosuit. You're not safe here. You need to move on foot underground. She didn't reply, but something in her eyes shifted. Trust. Or maybe just survival. Elias helped her into the suit specially made for small frame rescue and handed her a water pouch. She drank slowly. Her hand still trembled. Can you walk now? She nodded once, weak but willing. He opened the rear hatch. A wave of hot air blasted inside. Flames crackled nearby, and black smoke twisted across the wreckage. In the distance, bots still moved like metal wolves through the fog. Elias led the way, keeping low, weapon ready. They moved together, side by side, through the ruins of a battlefield forgotten by time. The air was thick with ash. The ground was covered in broken armor, old weapons, and burned flags from both human and alien sides. Here no one had one. Only silence remained. After nearly 10 minutes of careful walking, they reached a jagged crack in the ground, a blast crater that had broken open part of an old subterranean supply route. Elias climbed down first, then helped the girl follow. Inside, the tunnel was dark, cold, and quiet. A line of dead lights ran along the ceiling. Signs in both human and alien languages warned of danger and collapse. Elias used a small flashlight to guide the way. He glanced at her. This used to be a shared corridor back when we had peace talks. She didn't answer, but her expression said everything. That time was long gone. After a while, they found a side room, an old maintenance chamber. Elias shut the door and blocked it with debris. Safe, at least for the moment. He turned on a heat lamp and placed it between them. The soft glow lit the space, revealing their faces clearly. She sat down slowly, rubbing her leg. It was healing, but the pain hadn't left. He handed her a protein bar. Not great, but better than starving. She took it, sniffed it, then bit it gently. Her eyes widened. Sweet. Elias chuckled. That's sugar. Don't get used to it. We barely get any. She studied him for a moment, then finally spoke again. Her words were slow, broken, but understandable. You soldier? He nodded. Yeah. Reckon pilot, I was never supposed to land. Just observe, she pointed to herself. I was, comes officer, left behind. Elias cracked slightly on the last words. Elias looked at her. Your name? She hesitated, then said softly, Raya. Raya, he repeated. Nice to meet you, even if it's in a hole full of war junk. She smiled. The first smile he had seen from her. A few moments passed in silence. Then she asked, Your people kill me if they find? He didn't lie. Yeah, most likely. She nodded, like she expected it. But I won't let that happen, he added quickly. She looked at him, unsure. Why? I am not important. Elias leaned back, thinking. I've followed orders my whole life. But saving you, that wasn't an order. That was a choice. Rhea watched him quietly. Then she whispered, No one ever chose me. Outside the tunnel, the bots continued to search. A drone passed over the crater above, scanning, searching, hunting. Inside, the light from the heater glowed between them. For the first time, they were no longer strangers. Not fully, just two broken soldiers, human and alien, hiding in the ruins of a war that neither of them believed in anymore. And deep, underground, for the first time since the war began. They weren't alone. The heater's soft glow flickered against the metal walls. Deep beneath the battlefield, inside the abandoned tunnel, Captain Elias Kane and the alien girl Rhea sat in silence. Dust hung in the air. Water dripped from broken pipes above. Outside, death hunted them, but inside, a strange calm had formed. Elias checked his scanner again. Signal was still jammed. No backup, no help, no safe way out. Rhea sat across from him, resting against a rusted panel, alert now. Her wounds were healing slowly, and her voice, once broken and unsure, was growing stronger. I dreamed. Elias looked up. What kind of dream? I dreamed I died. Like the others. Burned in the fire. Alone. He said nothing. Then she added, but I didn't. Because of you. Elias shook his head slightly. I'm just trying to make it out alive, same as you.
Raya said.
Same as you. No, Raya said, her glowing eyes locking with his. You could have left. You didn't. You chose to carry me. She paused, then reached toward the back of her neck, just under her collarbone, and tapped twice on her skin. A faint pulse of light flashed. A hidden panel on her suit slid open. Elias leaned forward, confused. What is that? Rhea pulled out a small metallic object, thin, flat, and covered in alien markings. It pulsed with a soft blue light. A memory crystal, she said, encrypted. Elias narrowed his eyes. What's on it? She held it in both hands. Truth. He waited. She looked down. Our war started because of a lie, a false broadcast. They told us humans fired first. They said Earth planned to wipe us out. And that's not true? Elias asked. No, she whispered. It was fabricated. I saw the original files. My commander ordered them buried. Elias stared at her. You knew, and they left you behind? She nodded slowly. When I refused to help spread the lie, I was marked as defective. They sent me on a fake mission, and never came back. Elias ran a hand through his hair. Now they're hunting you. To keep this buried, yes? Rhea said. If both sides see this, maybe the war stops. Elias paced the room, thoughts racing. He looked back at her. Then why didn't you say anything earlier? She held the crystal tighter. Because I didn't trust you. You're a soldier, human. Elias sat back down beside her, and now. Rhea smiled faintly. I think you're just human. They both laughed quietly, cautiously, like it was something neither had done in a long time. But the moment didn't last. The scanner lit up again. Faint ping. Movement. Above them, Elias stood fast, their back. Multiple bots. Rhea quickly returned the crystal to her suit. Her eyes hardened. We must move. If they destroy the crystal, the truth dies with it. Elias grabbed his gear and helped her to her feet. There's a collapsed access tube down the hall. Might lead to a comms relay. Together they moved fast through the old tunnel system, the flashlight cutting through the darkness. Their footsteps echoed against the steel walls. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Finally, they reached a blocked path. A mass of stone and twisted metal sealed the way forward. Rhea stared at it. We can't go through. Elias examined the wall. Maybe we don't have to. He pulled out 2 small explosive charges from his belt and planted them at the base of the blockage. Rhea stepped back. Won't that alert the bots? Definitely, he said. But it's either get trapped here or take the risk. He hit the trigger. Boom. The explosion echoed like thunder. The wall cracked and fell away, revealing a wide shaft filled with broken ladders and emergency lights. They climbed through. Suddenly, from the opposite end, metallic footsteps, drones. 3 of them, armed and scanning. Elias raised his rifle. Go. Climb the shaft. Rhea paused. What about you? I'll hold them off. No, she said firmly. You saved me. I save you. She stepped forward, raised her hand, and from her wrist, a hidden interface activated. Blue code flowed across her fingers. The drones paused, twitching. Elias watched in shock as their red lights flickered, then turned blue. They lowered their weapons. Rhea collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Elias ran to her. I rewrote their command line, she gasped. Old tech. Only works once. The drones stood still, no longer hunters. Elias looked at her with awe. Rhea, what are you? She looked up. I'm the reason they want this war to continue, and maybe the reason it can end. The access shaft groaned above them as dust fell from the cracked ceiling. Somewhere high above, the firestorm still raged. The ground below trembled every few seconds, soft like distant thunder. Captain Elias Kane held Rhea against his side, steadying her as she recovered from the override. Her breathing was uneven, her skin dimmer. Drained after hacking the hunter drones, they were now standing beside the very machines that had tried to kill them moments ago, now frozen. There. Red lights replaced with soft blue pulses. You sure they won't turn back on us? Elias asked, watching the nearest drone with suspicion. Rhea didn't answer right away. Her eyes were closed, her forehead wet with sweat. I changed their route code, she finally whispered. But I burned most of my energy. I can't do it. Again, Elias nodded, then looked ahead. The tunnel bent to the right. A faint breeze touched his face. Fresh air, he muttered. There's an opening ahead. But before they could move, a metallic ping echoed from above. Rhea looked up sharply. That's not one of mine. Elias grabbed his rifle. From the top of the shaft, a black shape dropped fast, a command-grade war drone, larger, heavier, and fully immune to overrides. It landed with a crash that shook the walls. Its armor shimmered with heat. Its core glowed red dot, and it spoke Alpha. Protocol. Eliminate the traitor. Rhea's eyes widened. They activated a kill-class bot. Elias stepped in front of her. Then we fight. The war drone opened fire. Elias dove left, pulling Rhea with him. The blast hit the wall where they had stood seconds ago, spraying molten metal. Elias returned fire, 3 bursts. The bullets sparked off the drone's armor like pebbles on steel. We can't take that thing head on, he growled. Rhea pointed to the override drones beside them. We don't need to use them. Elias didn't hesitate. He ran to the closest reprogrammed unit and activated manual control. Its weapon arm lit up. The war drone advanced, scanning, recalculating, until the reprogrammed unit fired directly. At it. Boom. A direct hit to the side. It staggered but didn't fall. The war drone turned and sliced the unit in half with one swipe. By time, Rhea shouted. That's all they can do. Elias kept moving. He activated the next drone. It rushed the enemy, distracting it long enough for him to pull Rhea into a maintenance hallway. They ran together, Elias leading, Rhea limping behind. The war drone crushed everything in its path, moving like a beast of metal in rage. Finally, they reached the end of the corridor, a sealed blast door. Elias scanned it. Old military door. Needs dual authorization. Rhea pressed her hand on the other panel. Her alien code flared blue dot, clicked. The door opened, revealing a control room filled with long-dead systems. And one plasma charge rigged to explode. Elias stared at it. Trap. Someone didn't want this place found. Rhea looked at the control terminal. That's an uplink port. I can connect the memory crystal, broadcast everything. You have 3 minutes, Elias said. Maybe less. She nodded, already at work. Outside, the final override drone was destroyed. The warbot turned toward the control room, scanning. It began to charge. Elias waited at the doorway, weapon raised. He wasn't planning to survive, only to buy Rhea. Enough time, Captain, she said quietly behind him. You don't have to die for this. He didn't look back. Someone has to stand between monsters and truth. She stopped typing for a second, eyes on his back. No one ever stood for me before. He smiled. Get used to it. The warbot appeared at the hallway entrance, lights blazing. Rhea hit the final command. Transmission sent. The warbot fired just as Elias threw a grenade. The explosion shook the entire floor. Elias flew back, hit the wall hard, and blacked out. When he opened his eyes, the room was on fire. The warbot was half destroyed, its legs twitching. Rhea knelt beside him, pulling him up. You're alive. Barely, he grunted. She helped him to his feet. The world knows now. Both sides. Elias leaned against her. Then let's live long enough to see what they do with it. They limped out together, leaving behind the wreckage of the bot. The fire and the lie. Far above deep space communications stations began receiving a transmission they never expected. A message from a human and an alien together, and across both fleets. Commanders froze. The truth had arrived. Asterisk, the message had gone out. Across deep space stations, warships, border outposts, and hidden bases, the transmission echoed through. Every frequency, raw and undeniable. A human voice and an alien voice, together, not yelling. Not fighting, revealing the truth. The war didn't begin by accident. It was started on purpose. And now, both sides knew. But truth didn't bring peace. That it brought fury. Inside an old mining freighter stolen from the ruins, Captain Elias Kane guided the small ship through asteroid fields and dead cum zones. The pilot's seat rattled, the fuel gauge was nearly empty, and alarms kept blinking. But Elias kept flying because the entire galaxy was now behind them. Rhea sat beside him, strapped in tight, a hand pressed to her side. The explosion earlier had taken more out of both of them than she admitted. Her suit was damaged, her skin was pale, but her mind stayed sharp. You think someone believed us? Shh, she asked, voice quiet. Elias kept his eyes on the stars. Doesn't matter. We gave them the truth. What they do with it, that's their choice. Rhea turned toward the dark window. They'll come for us. They already are. Just then the ship's console beeped. Multiple signals. Fast. Incoming. Elias checked the radar. His heart dropped. 3 human interceptors. Elite models. Silent, fast, and deadly. They weren't here to talk. Rhea saw the screen. Your people, no, Elias said, jaw tight. Not anymore. The human fleet had tracked the origin of the transmission. They had found the relay tower. Now, they wanted the source, the 2 voices that had dared to speak against the war machine. Target vessel confirmed, said a voice through the interceptor's lead ship. Human signature verified, Captain Elias Kane. Status, rogue. Commander narrowed his eyes. Fire at will. Elias dove the freighter hard to the left. Lasers flashed past them, lighting up the ship's edge. Hold on. The ship rocked violently. Sparks flew from the panel. One hit the ceiling above Rhea and showered her in dust and flame. Elias reached over and covered her. We're outgunned, she said. Not out yet. He slammed the throttle. The ship darted toward a broken moon up ahead, its surface cracked, full of underground caverns from mining long ago. If I can get us inside the tunnels, they'll lose radar lock, he said. But they won't stop hunting, Rhea whispered. No, but they'll have to find us first. Inside the command ship, a second officer leaned over the commander's shoulder. Sir, we're firing on one of our own. If the transmission is real, the commander silenced him. If it's real, it's dangerous. Traitors don't get trials. The freighter dropped hard through the moon's gravity. Elias found a cavern and threaded the ship through it, scraping walls, dodging falling rocks, pushing the engines to their limits. Behind them, one interceptor clipped the rock and exploded. A brief, brilliant flash in the dark. Only 2 remained. The second followed close, launching a magnetic tracker click. It attached to the freighter's side, silent, hidden, inside. Rhea sat hunched over the terminal. We can't outrun them forever, I know. We need a safe zone. Somewhere they won't follow. Elias pulled up a chart. There's one place. Neutral space. No warships allowed. Problem is, it's far. We pointed at the tracker. Symbol blinking on the map. They'll follow. Unless. He stood and walked to the rear of the ship. What are you doing? Rhea asked. Plan B. He returned with an old escape pod stripped and modified. He dropped the magnetic tracker inside it. Get ready to launch. They powered up the pod and sent it flying in the opposite direction, away from the moon. The human interceptors followed instantly. Chasing the decoy across the stars, Rhea stared at Elias. You tricked your own people. You look tired, but proud. I didn't trick anyone. Gave them what they wanted, a ghost to chase. Hours later, they reached the edge of neutral territory, a dark, quiet zone protected by ancient treaties. Patrols didn't go there? No weapons allowed. No war allowed. Only peace. Fragile, unofficial, and barely kept alive. They landed at a small, hidden colony known as Eris Point, a place where outcasts, defectors, and survivors hid from both empires. As they stepped off the ship, a voice greeted them. You two made quite the message, said a tall, scarred man at the airlock. Half the galaxy's hunting you. Rhea tensed. But the other half? He smiled. The other half's listening. Far above, in deep command rooms of Earth and the alien empires, the message kept spreading, but not all agreed with silence. A single officer, seated in a dark lab, watched the original transmission. Again, he paused at Rhea's face, then smiled. I want her alive. Bring me the human, too. The hunt wasn't over. It was just changing. The stars above Eris's point burned quietly. No warships, no signals. Just the silence of a neutral zone, the only place left where truth could breathe without being strangled by orders. Inside, dark room lit by old consoles and low blue light. Captain Elias Kane sat at a dusty comms table, his hands resting on the edge, his shoulders heavy. Across from him, Rhea stood in front of a holotransmitter, the memory crystal glowing softly in her hand. She stared at it like it still held weight far heavier than its size. They'll find us, she said softly. Elias didn't argue. I know, maybe today, maybe next year, but they'll come. He nodded. I know. So why stay here? She asked. Why not run? Elias leaned forward. 'Cause we're done running. And because people heard us, that message, it mattered. Rhea hesitated. Some called it a lie, but some called it truth. She looked down at the crystal. Then maybe it needs to say more. Later that night, the two of them stood. Inside Eris Point's central tower, an ancient relay built during the First Contact Wars, long forgotten but still functional, Elias adjusted the transmission dish manually. Sparks flew, creaked with age, but it worked. Rhea stepped up to the console and activated the crystal again. A familiar voice played her own. The first message, clear, strong. The war began with a lie that was taught, believed, and followed blindly. Looked over at Elias. This time, we speak together. He nodded. The terminal blinked, waiting for input. REYA spoke first. Roy spoke first. My name is Rhea, born from a people who feared humans more than they understood. Them, I was taught to hate. But in my dying breath, one man chose to save me. He didn't see an enemy, saw a person. She turned to Elias. He stepped forward. My name is Captain Elias Kane. I've fought in this war since I was 19. I've watched people die, followed orders I didn't understand. Then I found her. Wounded, alone, abandoned. And I made a choice. Not because she was human, but because she wasn't, Rhea added. We shouldn't be alive, but we are, and that means something. Elias stepped closer to the camera. If you're hearing this, ask yourself, what if the enemy you fear is just someone like you? Someone trying to survive? Rhea looked into the lens. Don't fight because you're told to. Fight for what's right. Or don't fight at all. She placed the crystal in the terminal and hit send. The message launched, coded. Translated, duplicated across every back channel, rebel satellite, and forgotten broadcast tower. It couldn't be stopped. Across the galaxy, in a small human colony, a mechanic paused his work and turned to the radio. He listened to the words and removed the war patch from his jacket. In an alien school, a young girl with violet skin watched Rhea's face on a classroom screen. Her teacher didn't speak, only nodded, inside a battleship ready to fire on. An alien planet, a human pilot sat frozen, staring at Ilias's voice echoing through his headset. His hand hovered over the fire control. He never pressed it. Back on Iris Point, Rhea and Elias stood in silence, watching the message finish its broadcast. Rhea exhaled deeply. It's done. Ilias stepped beside her. We just lit a fire. She looked at him. Will it spread? He stared at the stars. I don't know. But fire always finds a way. Later, on a quiet platform overlooking the stars, the two of them sat shoulder to shoulder. No armor, no war. Rhea rested her head against his shoulder. Do you still believe in hope? She asked. Elias was quiet for a long time, then he whispered, I didn't. Until I met you. She smiled. Me too. Far above, a ship entered the edge of the neutral zone. Its lights were off, its guns powered down. A message came through. We heard your voice. We want to talk. Rhea's eyes widened. That's my people. Elias rose slowly. Yours? And not military. Scientists. Peacekeepers. He looked at her, surprised. After all this, they still listened. Oh, she said, smiling again. After all this, they finally saw me. Some wars end with victory, some with defeat. But the rarest kind of ending is understanding. And on the edge of space, in the ruins of war, one human and one alien lit the first spark of peace.